There's not that many people that can relate to everything that she's been through. There's not that many folks that know what it's like to be in her shoes, but someone that does is LeBron James, right?
Few can truly understand the rise of WNBA rookie sensation Caitlin Clark. But one person who gets it all too well is Los Angeles Lakers superstar LeBron James. After a standout rookie season with the Indiana Fever, Clark's journey has drawn comparisons to James himself, who recently voiced his support for her. He said, "I have a great deal of respect for Caitlin Clark because I know exactly what it means to be drafted, be the face of a franchise, and also get scrutiny from people who don't think you're ready for that next step. Watching Caitlin and what she's doing, I've been supporting her since day one because I remember going through that myself. She has my support 100%. She's a transcendent player. Like James, Clark faced immediate pressure. As the #1 overall draft pick, she was thrown into the spotlight, much like LeBron was back in 2003 when he was drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. At just 18 years old, the weight of an entire franchise rested on his shoulders, with expectations to lead them to greatness. Similarly, Clark took the reins of the Fever franchise, and her rookie season has come with its share of challenges. Another thing James and Clark share is their massive popularity, which brings both admiration and criticism. LeBron has been through it, and now Caitlin is experiencing the same. Yet, despite the noise from critics, both have turned the pressure into game-winning performances. LeBron, always a supporter of women's basketball, hasn't hesitated to show his admiration for Clark, whether it's through encouraging words or sharing her highlights on social media. He's been one of her biggest fans from the start.
The one thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport, more people want to watch. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it f***ed up. Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA. But I'm rooting for Caitlin because I've been in that seat before. I've walked that road before.
NBA analysts have already started drawing comparisons between LeBron James and Caitlin Clark.
Right, when LeBron James came out in 2003, we heard, so many guys on record saying they couldn't wait for him to get to the league and he wasn't going to do this, he wasn't going to do that. And guess what? He did that and he did this. Well, she took her hits, she got back up, and she kept swinging and she kept dominating in great fashion as a rookie. And so it's no other two athletes like LeBron James and Caitlin Clark that's been under this most pressure since I've been around the game of basketball that I've witnessed with my very own eye.
Just like LeBron, Caitlin Clark's rookie season didn't get off to a smooth start. The Fever struggled with a 1-8 record early on, leading fans and analysts to question her abilities. Fast forward to the WNBA playoffs in September, and those doubts disappeared. Clark led the Fever to their first postseason appearance since 2016, finishing the season with a 20-20 record, their best in nearly a decade. Her stats were nothing short of remarkable, averaging 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game. Not only did she lead all rookies in scoring, but she also topped the entire WNBA in assists, though the Fever were knocked out by the Connecticut Sun in the first round. Much like LeBron's early playoff exits, this is just the start for Caitlin. LeBron himself didn't make the playoffs in his rookie year, finishing with a 35-47 record. 2 decades later, he's a 4-time NBA champion, a 4-time MVP, and a certified legend. As for Clark, she's already making her mark. After her playoff exit, she made history alongside Michael Jordan, becoming just the second rookie in NBA or WNBA history to average at least 18 points, 8.5 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and 1 block in a playoff series. Sharing a stat line with Air Jordan, that's no small feat.
She has lived up to expectations, right? I'm looking at her the way I look at LeBron James, right? For us, the women's side of things, and the height that she had, the expectations she had to live up to, packing out arenas on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people out there waiting to see her fail, and still keeping her composure as a rookie and leading this team has been a beautiful thing to see.
Clark's rookie season hasn't just turned heads in the WNBA. it's grabbed the attention of major sports media figures. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith and NFL legend Shannon Sharp have both praised her performance. Despite all the noise, Caitlyn has been absolutely phenomenal, said Smith. Her ability to thrive under pressure shows she's got greatness written all over her.
She elevated. She seemed to thrive. She's been better since the Olympic play. And what has she looked like since? She's looked absolutely marvelous, regardless of whatever noise has been out there.
A lot of this noise came by people that were sitting on this network. They tried to minimize her, said, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her? What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. Caitlin Clark,
Caitlin Clark, remember that girl, that superstar playing for Iowa that ended up going to the Final Four? She's got one of the hottest selling jerseys in sports, y'all, according to Fanatics, led by the one and only Michael Rubin. The deal is the richest sponsorship contract for a women's basketball player. She deserves it!
Caitlin Clark is making waves in women's basketball, breaking NCAA scoring records left and right, and she's become the talk of the town. It feels like she burst onto the scene and instantly became the most exciting name in the sport. And get this. Nike just signed her for a whopping $28 million deal. That's right, $28 million. But here's the strange part. Where's her signature shoe? With all that cash and buzz, you'd expect to see Caitlin Clark sneakers everywhere. But there's nothing yet. And believe me, there's much more to this situation than just a delay in footwear. Behind the scenes, there's a major showdown happening among top players in sports marketing, all trying to figure out how to best handle Clark's rise. It's like a strategic game of chess, but instead of pieces like pawns and knights, we've got shoes and contracts, with the future of women's sports marketing hanging in the balance. Now, picture yourself at Nike. You've got the most promising rookie in years, yet you're hesitating to fully support her. Why? Because there's an MVP in the league who still hasn't received her own signature shoe. How do you navigate this without stepping on anyone's toes? It's like Nike is caught in a high-stakes basketball chess match.
Clark now has an 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike that will include her own signature shoe. Caitlin Clark continues to set the bar when it comes to her impact on female athletics. Go out there, compete with her, try to bust her up if you want to, and all of that stuff. Just don't hate on the acclaim that she's getting.
On one hand, you have Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation who's setting the court on fire. On the other hand, there's A'ja Wilson, the WNBA MVP who has been dominating the league. Both are phenomenal athletes, but only one can get their signature shoe first. It's a tough call. You'd expect Nike to rush out Clark's shoe, especially after signing her to a $28 million deal. But here's the twist. They're holding back. Why? It all comes down to balance. Launching Clark's shoe before Wilson's could stir up some serious drama within the Nike family. They find themselves stuck between a rock and a hard place. They want to take advantage of Clark's immense popularity, but they can't overlook Wilson's status as the reigning MVP. It's a tricky situation, and Nike is doing its best to avoid any missteps. Now, here's where it gets intriguing. An insider revealed that Nike's strategy has shifted. They used to make bold, decisive moves. Remember the just do it days? Now, it feels more like just think about it. They're so focused on managing public perception that they're playing it incredibly safe. This cautious approach isn't just about Clark and Wilson. It's reshaping how brands engage with rising stars in women's sports. Everyone's watching to see how Nike navigates this, and you can bet other companies are taking notes. If Nike gets this right, they could establish a new standard for marketing female athletes. But if they mess it up, it could lead to a major PR disaster. That's why they're treading carefully. However, this cautiousness might be hindering women's sports. Imagine if Nike just went for it and released Clark's shoe, only to have it sell out instantly. That could open the doors for more signature shoes, more endorsements, and increased visibility for the WNBA as a whole. This isn't just about shoes anymore. It's about the future of women's sports marketing. Nike's decision could have a monumental impact on every female athlete out there. Will they play it safe or take a risk? Either way, the outcome will be significant. Now, consider why only 5 WNBA players have signature shoes. 5 in the entire league. That's fewer than the starting lineup of a single team. How is this possible in 2024? It's like women's basketball is stuck in the Stone Age when it comes to footwear. But here's where it gets exciting. Caitlin Clark's shoe could change everything. We're not just talking about another unisex model with a woman's name on it. This could be a game changer. Imagine a basketball shoe designed specifically for a woman's foot. It's not just about aesthetics. It's about enhancing performance. It's surprising to realize that most women's basketball shoes are essentially just smaller versions of men's shoes. However, women's feet aren't merely smaller versions of men's feet. They have a different shape. So why do we expect women to perform at their best in shoes that weren't designed for them? That's where Clark's shoe could make a significant difference. If Nike gets this right, they could establish a brand new standard for women's basketball footwear. We're talking about shoes that fit better, feel better, and might even help reduce the risk of injuries. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark anymore. This could have positive implications for every woman on the court. Plus, the demand is certainly there. When Clark was drafted, her jersey sold out in no time. People are eager for Clark merchandise. If her shoe is successful, it could pave the way for more signature shoes in the WNBA, finally creating a market that truly caters to women basketball players. But this goes beyond just selling shoes. Clark's signature shoe could symbolize growth in women's basketball, sending a message that says, "We see you, we value you, and we're creating products specifically for you." That's a significant step for a sport that has often been viewed as an afterthought. Consider the impact this could have on young girls who play basketball. They wouldn't just be dreaming of playing in the WNBA. They'd be envisioning a future where they have their own. The Indiana Fever is turning up the heat, and it's not just because they're pushing for a playoff spot. NaLyssa Smith and Caitlin Clark are caught in a bit of drama that could give your favorite reality shows a run for their money. If you thought The Real Housewives had enough tension, you might want to hear about the brewing rivalry between these two basketball stars. As the Fever gets ready for the playoffs, things in the locker room are getting heated, almost as fast as a three-pointer. NaLyssa, who used to be the face of the team, now feels like she's being overshadowed by the rising star, Caitlin Clark. It's like a sports soap opera playing out right on the court, with a mix of jealousy, competition, and just a hint of shade. So, what's really going on between NaLyssa and Caitlin? Is this a case of jealousy, or is it just good old competitive spirit? Can they work together without it turning into a full-on showdown? Grab your popcorn, because this isn't just about basketball anymore. This is shaping up to be the biggest storyline in the WNBA right now.
Anti-white hate towards Caitlin Clark is exactly that. But I could guarantee you if Caitlin Clark would take a knee and she would salute BLM, that all of this might dissipate overnight. But because she has not done that, here we are.
Tommy's right. It's not just race, though. It's also sexuality. Caitlin Clark is a white heterosexual woman in a black league, and they resent and are jealous of all of the attention and the shoe deal that she got. Instead of recognizing the truth, which is great athletes who people care about coming into your league really do make everybody more money, and hey, get you charter airplane flights instead of flying commercial.
The Indiana Fever locker room is like a pressure cooker about to burst. What was once a place of team unity and support now feels more like a battlefield full of drama. A divide is formed, splitting apart a team that used to be united by a common goal. At the heart of this tension is a rivalry between two of the team's brightest stars. Leading the charge is NaLyssa Smith, the former face of the team, who now finds herself sidelined as the spotlight shifts to a new rising star. But don't count her out just yet. Smith isn't the type to quietly step aside. She's ready to fight her way back into the spotlight, shaking things up and making her presence felt throughout the entire team.
Clark off the Smith screen, goes back for Smith, wide open at the foul line, and Smith cashes it.
That screen doubled Caitlin. She didn't get phased and gave it up quickly.
Will Smith with the steal. Hillman giving chase. Smith the step through and draws the foul.
Took the W season off last year. She would certainly love a little bit of consistency. Ooh, NaLyssa Smith.
Here in the early going tonight.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of talk of Caitlin
Taylor cut off on the baseline. Smith shot fake the three. Oh, look at the behind the back and the push shot. Smith showing off the moves.
Melissa Smith, such a talented, oh my goodness.
About 3 or 4 minute rest. Clark working the baseline. Good ball movement here. Smith is wide open and buries a triple.
In the W this season, you saw those numbers there. 3-time Olympic gold medalist, the league MVP, and she looks...
This situation goes way beyond a friendly rivalry. It's about identity, pride, and survival in a league where one wrong move could land you on the bench, or worse, sent to another team. As tensions within the Fever continue to rise, there's one big question. Can they survive the storm between Smith and the rookie? What drives Smith to confront the player who's taken her spotlight? Is this the beginning of the end for Melissa Smith in Indiana? Or is she gearing up for a comeback worthy of a Hollywood storyline?
I think what Caitlin has done for not just college basketball, but for women's basketball, period, I think has been great. The following, people watching the game, sellouts that we haven't seen ever. It just really bothers me, though, when people just take bits and pieces of what they want to take and they don't listen to everything and you don't hear everything. It wasn't personal. One, it was my opinion on how I think she'll be at the next level, because I do remember me saying that Caitlin, to me, could be the best college shooter I've ever seen. When you put these expectations on these young women in college to go to the next level and be immediately dominant, and when that doesn't happen, then people come back and say, oh, she was a bust, she was a flop, she wasn't that good. Just let them do what they're doing in college, enjoy what they're doing in college, and let them become stars in the WNBA.
To really understand how serious this situation is, we have to look back a bit. Smith wasn't just another player on the Fever's roster. She was the backbone of the team. Her rise to stardom wasn't by chance. It was the result of hard work, undeniable talent, and natural leadership that earned her the role as the team's go-to player. She didn't just play basketball. She was shaping the future of the Indiana Fever with every standout performance. Today, we've got some serious drama to break down. The situation between Caitlin Clark and a Connecticut Sun fan has been leaked, and now, Teresa Weatherspoon is the latest coach to lose her job. Let's dive in. First up, let's talk about Caitlin Clark and what went down at the Connecticut Sun game. Even though the Fever season is over and Clark's off the court, the drama isn't cooling down. A lot of WNBA veterans and players are blaming Caitlin Clark's fan base for all the hate that's been going around. But come on, can we really put all of this on Clark's fans? Did you see what happened at the Sun game? It wasn't just a random fan. This guy had media credentials and was harassing Clark from the front row. The whole incident got leaked online, and now we've got more details to unpack. Clark ended up calling out the fan to security after he apparently crossed a line. Fans at the game said the guy didn't just insult her, he allegedly wished she'd fall and break her neck. Then, he went back to his seat and bragged about it to other Sun fans. More people who were there have come forward, saying they overheard some of his comments, and it sounds pretty bad. This situation has sparked a lot of debate online, and there are even rumors that the guy had media access. So far, the WNBA hasn't made a statement, but it's definitely a mess. WNBA commentator Stephen A. Smith called out the racist fan and showed his support for Clark. On the flip side, players like Angel Reese and Brittany Griner have also shared their thoughts. Angel mentioned she's been dealing with harassment from Clark's fans for the past 2 years. Griner, on the other hand, is pushing for the league to take faster action when it comes to toxic fan behavior. Speaking of Angel Reese, let's shift gears. Last night, news dropped that her coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, was fired from the Chicago Sky, and Angel's heartbroken. She tweeted about how much Weatherspoon meant to her, saying she was the only one who believed in her and supported her through a tough time in her life. The Indiana Fever delivered an unforgettable game. Picture this: Caitlin Clark, the rookie who's been making waves in the league, played all 45 minutes of a game that went into overtime. Yep, 45 minutes straight, and that's just the start. Clark didn't just lead the Fever to a tough 104-100 win over the Atlanta Dream. She also became the fastest player in WNBA history to hit 300 career assists. But that's not all. Her teammate, Aaliyah Boston, had the best game of her career on the very same night. The first quarter was electric, with the Fever and Dream trading baskets right from the jump. Clark showed she was locked in early, sinking a three-pointer within the first few minutes.
Boston gets it back to Clark, sidesteps Howard, she will launch and knock down a three.
The Atlanta Dream wasn't backing down, with Rhyne Howard answering back with her own sharp shooting. By the end of the first quarter, the Fever had a narrow 22-21 lead, setting the stage for a closely contested game. In the second quarter, things heated up even more. The Dream, led by Howard and Alicia Gray, pulled ahead by 6 points. But the Fever weren't going down easily. Lexi Hull stepped up, sinking 2 clutch three-pointers to keep them in the fight. Despite their efforts, the Dream managed to take control, going into halftime with a 48-44 lead. If you thought it was intense by then, the third quarter kicked things up a notch. The Dream extended their lead to 16 points, and it seemed like the Fever were losing their grip. But this is where Caitlin Clark and her squad worked their magic. Clark started finding her rhythm, making pinpoint assists and draining crucial shots. Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston dominated the boards, grabbing key rebounds and converting them into points. By the end of the third quarter, the Fever had cut the lead to just 3 points, with the score at 69-66 in favor of the Dream. The fourth quarter was one of the most thrilling moments of the season. It was a battle between two determined teams. Clark continued to lead the Fever's offense with precision, while Boston was unstoppable around the basket. The game was tied multiple times in the closing minutes. With 18 seconds left, Boston hit a huge shot to tie the game at 90, sending it into overtime. Overtime was pure intensity. Clark and Boston kept up their dominance, but the Dream fought back hard. It was a back-and-forth exchange of baskets right up until the final seconds. In the end, Clark's composure at the free throw line sealed the Fever's 104-100 victory. This game showed just how much the Indiana team is growing, and with the playoffs on the horizon, they're showing some promising signs. What can we even say about Clark that hasn't been said already? Well, here's one for you. She played all 45 minutes of the game. Unreal, right? But the numbers back it up. Clark wrapped up the night with 26 points, 12 assists, and 5 rebounds. That's not just a double-double, it's complete court control. And the biggest highlight? She became the fastest player in WNBA history to hit 300 career assists. We're talking about a rookie shattering records that seemed untouchable. Her court vision is something else. If Clark was the conductor, Aaliyah Boston was the unstoppable force. Boston had the game of her career, dropping 30 points and grabbing 13 rebounds. Another double-double, but more than that, it was pure dominance. She was a force in the paint, turning Clark's assists into easy buckets and creating second chances with her offensive rebounding. Boston was incredibly efficient, hitting 11 out of 16 shots. And let's not forget Kelsey Mitchell. While Clark and Boston were stealing the show, Mitchell quietly had a standout game herself, with 21 points and a solid 50% shooting. She was the quiet but critical third piece of the puzzle, delivering when the Fever needed it most. Mitchell showed why she's one of the top shooters in the league, sinking clutch shots to help seal the victory. The trio of Clark running the show, Boston owning the paint, and Mitchell hitting from the outside is a combination that could take the Fever deep into the playoffs. And speaking of playoffs, with performances like this, the Fever are proving they're not just here to make up the numbers, they're here to compete for a title. A key moment in the game came in the third quarter when the Dream opened up a 16-point lead. That could have been the moment many teams threw in the towel, but not the Fever, and definitely not Clark. She kicked off a series of plays that completely turned the game around. She drained a three-pointer and followed it up with 2 quick assists to Boston. Just like that, the 16-point gap started to shrink. This was where Clark's championship mentality really showed. She didn't just rack up points, she elevated the play of her whole team. This game summed up the Fever season. Flashes of brilliance, some adversity, and overcoming challenges. But most of all, It showcased the heart and determination of this young squad.
Caitlin Clark received 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season, and 80% of those flagrant fouls were committed by the Chicago Sky against Caitlin Clark. So there have been cheap shots, there have been hard fouls, there have been other plays that haven't even been called flagrant fouls, but when you have the face of your league getting nearly 20% of all flagrant fouls called against her, that is an issue.
Did you catch that WNBA game where it felt like the refs had it out for Caitlin Clark? It's wild. Fans are absolutely losing it, saying the league is letting their biggest star get bullied on the court. And honestly, they might be right. Let's break down why this matters and what we can do about it. Picture this: sun versus fever, playoff level intensity. Clark's driving to the basket, defenders all over her. She goes up for the shot, clear contact, and nothing. No whistle. The crowd's going crazy, and Clark's staring at the refs like, "Are you serious?" But still, no call. It's like the refs left their whistles in the locker room. And guess what? It only gets worse. We're going to dive into why the fans are so outraged, what this means for the WNBA, and what needs to be done to fix it. Some of the things happening behind the scenes? You won't believe it. The league's got a serious issue, and it's time we talk about it. Now, if you think you've seen mad sports fans before, think again. Caitlin Clark's fans aren't just angry, they're practically ready to storm WNBA headquarters. So, what's making everyone so upset that people are saying this could change the future of women's basketball? Just imagine your Twitter feed blowing up with all caps rants, Instagram flooded with heated reaction videos, and Facebook groups turning into full-on virtual battlegrounds.
Superstars are going to get a special whistle, and they should, protecting their one superstar who brought in more eyeballs than anyone else has ever done in the league. She should have a special whistle. Calls like this should be made, should be reviewed, because at the end of the day, it's not just the sport, it's the entertainment of the sport, and you need to protect your superstars, and the WNBA has not done well this entire season.
This is what's going on in the WNBA right now. Fans are absolutely outraged over how the refs are handling these playoff games. And it's not just a few hardcore fans either. It's turned into a full-blown revolt. So what's causing all this frustration? It comes down to how the officials are treating the league's top stars, especially Caitlin Clark. Fans are furious, saying that the refs are letting defenders get away with everything when it comes to Clark. She's getting pushed, shoved, and knocked around without a single call being made. It's like the refs are taking a break every time she drives to the hoop. One fan put it perfectly: if the game isn't called fairly, we can't win. The WNBA should be ashamed. And that's the feeling that's all over social media right now. People are angry because they think the league isn't protecting its biggest stars, the players that fill seats and get people watching. But here's where it gets even crazier. This isn't just about one game or even one player anymore. Fans are saying this whole referee issue could actually hurt the future of the WNBA. They're worried that if star players like Clark can't perform because they're constantly getting fouled with no calls, it's going to slow down the growth of the league. And what's even wilder, some fans are predicting that this could tank viewership for the rest of the playoffs. They're asking, why should we watch if the games aren't fair? It's like the league is ruining its own momentum right at a time when it should be celebrating its success.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I do think that this was a basketball play, but I think it was a careless basketball play. I wouldn't go as far to say that I think Dejanay Carrington poked her in the eye on purpose. A lot of people are also saying that the WNBA needs to overhaul the referees, that they have just been absolutely awful this season. However, I do think that she was reckless when she was going for the steal. She didn't care where her hand landed.
Important responsibility, ensuring fair games, and letting the stars shine. But it's more than just frustration over bad calls. There's real fear about how this could impact players' careers and the loyalty of the fan base. Imagine being an up-and-coming player in the WNBA and watching how Clark is being treated. What message does that send about your future? Fans are concerned that this might discourage the next generation of talent from even wanting to join the league. And for the die-hard supporters who've been with the WNBA since the beginning, they're feeling betrayed. Like, all their dedication doesn't mean anything. But the problem runs deeper than just how the players feel. This whole referee situation is like a ticking time bomb for the WNBA. Some fans are saying it's exposing issues so serious it could reshape women's basketball entirely. So why does this matter so much? It's not just about a few bad calls in a single game. This officiating chaos is putting player careers, game outcomes, and the league's entire reputation at risk. If the star players can't perform at their best because they're constantly getting fouled without any calls, how can they truly show what they're capable of?
Not calling some of these fouls and not cracking down on some of these cheap shots and hard fouls that are so excessive, not only against Caitlin Clark, but against other players as well. People want to see a fast-paced, high-scoring, long-range shooting game from these women. People should know right off the bat, it shouldn't be the first round of the playoffs that players think that they can still do this kind of thing to
The WNBA faced some early controversy just 90 seconds into the first playoff game of 2024 when the Indiana Fever took on the Connecticut Sun in their best-of-3 series. Things escalated quickly when Caitlin Clark, the unanimous Rookie of the Year, ended up with a black eye. The incident happened when Connecticut guard Dejanai Carrington appeared to accidentally poke Clark in the eye. Despite Clark clearly being in pain and falling to the ground, no foul was called, which sparked an outcry from fans on social media. Many accused Carrington of foul play, claiming the move was intentional. Even Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy weighed in, tweeting, "Why does the WNBA let players wear gigantic nails if they use them as weapons? We're lucky Caitlin didn't lose an eye. No foul call, and she had to play with one eye the rest of the game." Clark, despite the injury, continued playing, but had one of her toughest games since joining the WNBA. She shot just 3.5%, going 4 for 17 from the field, including 2 for 11 from beyond the arc. The Fever, unable to rally behind their star, suffered a tough 93-69 loss to Connecticut, putting them on the verge of elimination. Kelsey Mitchell's 21 points and Aaliyah Boston's 11 rebounds were among the few highlights for Indiana. On the other side, Connecticut was led by Marina Mabrey's 27 points and Alyssa Thomas's 15th career triple-double as they controlled the game from start to finish. Despite the rough game, Clark didn't blame her eye injury for the performance. After briefly sitting on the bench following the poke, she decided to push through the pain and played 36 minutes, contributing 8 assists. However, her shooting struggles were hard to ignore. In the post-game press conference, Clark refused to place blame on Carrington, taking full responsibility for the missed shots and acknowledging her difficult game. Her determination to keep playing says a lot about her resilience, but fans are still left wondering if the eye injury played a bigger role in her off night. It remains to be seen if Clark and the Fever can bounce back and avoid an early. Caitlin Clark has some big news that's sure to create a stir in the WNBA. But let's face it, are we really surprised? Many fans have been watching just to see her take charge in the league this season. Now, she's made the decision to step away for good, and honestly, who can blame her?
She struggled with physical defense she's faced at the professional level and voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what Caitlin Clark said.
From the very beginning, this league didn't truly appreciate her talent. She took a team that had been largely unnoticed for 10 years and led them to the playoffs, set attendance records, increased ticket sales, and made her jersey a top seller. So what did she receive in return? A cheap eye poke, some shoulder hits, a loss by 6 points, technical fouls, unfounded claims of racism, and a label as a rude player.
What I am upset about is like, hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all season.
If that's the kind of treatment you receive for making the league entertaining, I'd walk away too. But do you know what really drove her to this breaking point and led her to announce her decision? What did she say that made it clear she's entirely finished? Let me provide you with all the details.
Those guys, they're the racists when really y'all are the racists. The people coming up with excuses to hate Caitlin Clark and the new fan base that she brought.
You could sense it brewing from a distance. Caitlin Clark's frustration had been accumulating for weeks. However, the tipping point occurred when the Indiana Fever faced a heartbreaking defeat against the Connecticut Sun.
She's just not built for the physicality of this league. And she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality,
resulting in their elimination from the playoffs. In a close game that ended with a score of 87-81, Clark played as if everything depended on it, contributing 29 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds, essentially trying to shoulder the entire team. But here's the catch. Her teammates appeared to be asleep. While Clark was out there performing like a one-woman army, her team struggled, missing shots and committing rookie errors.
This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league, and she's a rookie.
Let's kick things off with Temi Fagbani. Where do I even start? Her performance was nothing short of a disaster. She made some critical errors, including a shot clock violation at a crucial moment when the Fever were trying to gain momentum. When she wasn't just standing around looking confused, she went 0 for 3, practically gifting the ball back to the Sun. Honestly, don't you agree with Gino when he said,
"Yeah, but she needs to be on a better team."
But hold on, because Victoria Vivians didn't perform any better. As a veteran who should excel under pressure, she instead chose to go missing, scoring only 6 points with a shooting percentage of 2 for 10. Seriously, 2 out of 10? She wasn't just missing, she was clanking wide open opportunities that even I could have made. Then there's Kelsey Mitchell, usually a reliable scorer, who picked the absolute worst moment to disappear. She ended with 9 points on 3 of 12 shooting. For someone who was expected to be one of Indiana's top scorers, she appeared completely lost, hesitating and passing up shots. When she finally did take a shot, they turned into air balls. It was like she had stage fright just when the Fever needed her to step up.
Caitlin Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in the WNBA.
Watching everything unravel around Clark while she was giving it her all was painful. Each time she made a clutch, three-pointer, or executed an amazing play, her teammates seemed to fumble, handing the ball back to the Sun and giving Clark that helpless look, as if to say, "Oops, my bad." You could see it in her body language. Every missed shot and turnover felt like a punch to the gut. It's not that she didn't show up. She played a full 40 minutes of relentless, high-intensity basketball, pouring everything into the game, and yet it still wasn't sufficient.
It's important that we point this out. One of the things that I brought up this morning in talking about Caitlin Clark is that some of the players, you want to use the word jealousy, fine. You want to use the word envy, fine.
As the final buzzer went off and Clark stood there with her shoulders slumped, staring at the scoreboard, it became evident that this was more than just a loss. It was a realization, a wake-up call that no matter how hard she fought, how many shots she made, or how many plays she executed, it wouldn't matter without a team that could genuinely support her. This wasn't merely the end of a playoff journey, it signified the end of her patience.
If Caitlin Clark is the quote-unquote savior, if she's the golden girl, milk it!
Reality is knocking on the door of the porta potty. The truth is finally coming to the light. The same light that is going to be dimming here in about 12 hours when Caitlin Clark is eliminated from the playoff.
The entire WNBA was almost in shock when Caitlin Clark revealed her big news. She's not just stepping away from the league, she's moving to Europe. That's correct. The most exciting rookie the WNBA has ever witnessed is packing her bags and saying, "I'm out." Can you really falter after enduring all the relentless pressure, cheap shots, and endless nonsense? Clark has decided it's time to hit the reset button. This announcement came just days after the Indiana Fever's tough playoff exit against the Connecticut Sun. And honestly, it's not unexpected. After elevating her team to relevance without any support, this was bound to happen.
There were regular season games this season where Caitlin Clark drew more than 1.8 million viewers. However, I hope Kat Engelbert is ready for disappointment because there's a hell of a lot.
If Caitlin Clark is the star of the WNBA, Things are about to get tough for the league once she's out of the playoffs. The reality is, the WNBA is in for a wake-up call. When Clark was out, ratings plummeted from 1.8 million viewers to just 161,000. Definitely concerning for Kathy Engelbert and the league. Clark's presence this season boosted everything: merchandise, ticket sales, and TV viewership. The Indiana Fever, once barely relevant, became playoff contenders, and her games consistently sold out. But now, here's the issue. Without Clark, the WNBA is struggling. Not a single playoff game has even reached 500,000 viewers in her absence. Without her star power, the league is left facing empty arenas and tanking ratings. It's become clear they put all their hopes on Clark, and now they're feeling the effects. Clark's influence extended beyond just the Fever. She set records in points, assists, and triple-doubles, and her energy lifted the whole league. Attendance shot up by 156%, TV ratings nearly tripled, and merchandise sales skyrocketed. She even drew in fans who had never paid attention to women's basketball before. But now that she's out, the league is facing a tough reality. Remember those packed arenas for her games? Without her, the venues are half full, and the excitement is gone. Even the top teams can't pull in 500,000 viewers. The WNBA is staring down not just a major drop in fan engagement, but a financial loss too. The NBA pours $200 million into the WNBA every year just to keep it going. But compared to the NBA's $3 billion in revenue, the WNBA's earnings are minimal. What's even more shocking is that the league hasn't properly marketed Clark. There have been no big commercials or major marketing campaigns. It's like they're hiding their biggest asset. So what happens now? The WNBA needs to develop more stars, build rivalries, and create storylines that don't rely entirely on Clark. The league can't sit around waiting for the next big name to show up and save them. It's time for change, and fast. Can the WNBA survive without Caitlin Clark? Or is this the start of a serious decline for what's happening in the WNBA right now is absolutely wild. Sophie Cunningham, who plays with Diana Taurasi on the Phoenix Mercury, recently made some eye-popping comments about Caitlin Clark that are leaving people stunned. And believe it or not, that's just scratching the surface. Caitlin Clark isn't just putting up numbers on the court. She's changing the game itself. She's been smashing records, pulling off impossible plays, and shaking up the Indiana Fever in ways no one saw coming. And get this, some of the seasoned veterans are starting to feel a bit envious. Yep, the rookie is making waves so big that it's ruffling the feathers of some long-standing stars. But hold on, let's take a closer look at what Cunningham said that's got everyone buzzing. In a recent interview, she dropped some serious thoughts on Caitlin Clark.
But I think they've done a great job in the league as well. I think the physicality and all that they're going to get used to, but I think especially Caitlin Clark, she's been killing it. And I'm a huge fan, and I never say that, but I think it's fun what she's doing.
Can you believe what this means? A veteran player who shares the court with the iconic Diana Taurasi is giving major props to a rookie. That's not something you see every day in the WNBA. But Sophie didn't stop there. She had more to say.
When it comes to viewership, man, I think a lot of people have a lot to learn about our league, but I think that's a really fun thing. And if you have really anything negative to say about all the viewership and everything that this rookie class is doing, I just think that you're not capitalizing on it and you might be a little jealous. So
Sophie just dropped a truth bomb on anyone throwing shade at Caitlin Clark's success and the other rookies in the league. She's basically saying that if you're not on board with how the WNBA is growing, then the issue might be with you. But why is Sophie, an established player, going all out to defend Clark and the rookies? Simple. It's all about the impact. Clark isn't just playing great basketball. She's completely changing how people view the WNBA. Since she stepped into the league, viewership has exploded. Games that used to have empty seats are now packed. People aren't just watching Indiana Fever games, they're buying tickets, jerseys, and buzzing about the WNBA on social media like never before. And here's the kicker. Clark is pulling all this off as a rookie. She didn't need years to adjust or build a fan base. She came in and started dominating right away. That's why Sophie and other savvy players are seeing that Clark's success is tied to the success of the league itself. In just the last 5 games, Clark's been on fire, averaging 22.6 points, 8.4 assists, and 4.8 rebounds. But that's not all. She's shooting 48.1% from the field and an impressive 44.4% from beyond the arc. These aren't just good numbers for a rookie, they're elite, even for seasoned pros. And what's most incredible is that she's not just stacking up stats for herself, she's lifting the entire team. With Clark on the court, the Fever have gone from barely scraping by to becoming serious title contenders. Oh, and that record for most points generated in a WNBA season? Clark is on track to break it. She's already ranked among the top 3 rookies of all time for total points, and the season's not even over. But it's not just about scoring. Clark is redefining what it means to be a point guard in this league. Her assists aren't just routine passes, they're jaw-dropping plays. She's seeing and creating opportunities that leave even the commentators speechless. And here's the wild part. She's doing all of this against defenses that are built specifically to shut her down. Entire teams are shifting their strategies just to contain Caitlin Clark, but she's still out there dominating. That's why veterans like Sophie Cunningham are so impressed. Clark isn't just excelling, she's changing the entire game. She's pushing teams and players to evolve, and in doing so, she's raising the level of competition across the WNBA. Let's dive into something Cunningham brought up that's been stirring the pot in the league: the jealousy and criticism aimed at Caitlin Clark. Sounds crazy, right? A rookie making such a huge impact that it's got veterans feeling envious. But that's exactly what's happening. Some players, and even some fans, are complaining about all the attention Clark's getting, saying it's overhyped or that she's stealing the spotlight from more experienced players. But let's be real, this is just plain jealousy. As Sophie Cunningham wisely pointed out, those who are grumbling about the attention Clark is bringing to the league are missing out on the bigger picture and maybe feeling a bit envious. She's absolutely right. Clark's success doesn't take away from any other player's value. In fact, the more attention the WNBA gets, the better it is for everyone. More fans mean more revenue, which can lead to higher salaries, better conditions, and more opportunities for all players. Clark is literally expanding the league's market. She's attracting new fans, people who might never have watched a WNBA game before. And once they're hooked, they're not just watching Clark, they're getting introduced to all the incredible talent the league has to offer. That's why smart players like Cunningham are embracing the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. They understand that when one player shines, it benefits the whole league. Clark's success is lifting the WNBA to new heights. And buckle up, because today's WNBA news is seriously wild. Imagine making a comment so bad, it's now being labeled as one of the worst quotes in sports history. Yep, that's what went down when Chennedy Carter had a complete meltdown after Caitlin Clark was named to the first team All-WNBA and won Rookie of the Year. But here's the kicker, Clark didn't fire back with words. She let her game do all the talking, and trust me, you won't believe how she responded. So get comfortable, because we're diving into everything. From Carter's outburst to Clark's stunning response. Caitlin Clark's rookie season? Absolutely legendary. She earned her spot on the All-WNBA first team and took home Rookie of the Year honors. But, of course, not everyone was cheering her on. Chennedy Carter, for example, wasn't exactly thrilled. She practically lost it when Clark's name was mentioned for the big awards. And, while Clark's stats are beyond impressive, what really turned heads was how she handled all the drama. Instead of getting dragged into the chaos, she responded with so much grace and humor that you'd think she was prepping for late-night TV, not just WNBA greatness. Let's break down what made Clark's rookie season so spectacular. She wasn't just good, she was unbelievable, averaging 24 points and 8.5 assists per game since August. That's superstar level, no doubt. But wait, there's more. She didn't just win Rookie of the Year, she won it unanimously every single vote. It's like a popularity contest, but with actual skills to back it up. And as if that wasn't enough, she also made the All-WNBA first team as a rookie. That almost never happens. Talk about making an entrance. Clark didn't just put up big numbers, she completely turned things around for the Indiana Fever. They went from barely hanging on to becoming legit playoff contenders. Honestly, no one saw that coming. How does one rookie change the game for an entire team? That's exactly what we're about to dive into. And trust me, this story's just heating up. Not everyone's thrilled about Clark's rapid rise to stardom. One player's reaction to her success Let's just say it wasn't what anyone expected. You'd think Clark's harshest critics might be her own teammates, right? After all, locker rooms are full of competition. Wrong. The most intense criticism actually came from someone who's never even played against her. And let me tell you, this one didn't just miss. It backfired big time. Enter Chennedy Carter, a WNBA player who decided to throw some serious shade at Clark. Carter didn't just question Clark's skills. She went straight for the jugular, saying, besides three-point shooting, what else does she bring to the table? Hold up, that's like saying, besides saving the world, what else does Superman do? It was a pretty wild take, and fans weren't having it. Carter's comment didn't just fall flat. It sparked a huge backlash. Fans, analysts, and basketball experts all fired back, calling Carter out as a hater and even questioning her basketball IQ. It was like she tried to nail a buzzer beater, but ended up tossing the ball into the stands. Major fail. Now, maybe you're thinking, did Carter have a point? Was there something behind her criticism? Well, the answer came quickly, and it was a big no. Clark didn't bother with a war of words. Instead, she responded in the best way possible by showing everyone what she's made of on the court. Shortly after Carter's comment, Clark made WNBA history by becoming the first rookie to record a triple-double, 19 points, 13 assists, and 12 rebounds. That's not just a good game, that's a sit-back-and-watch-me level of performance. And Clark didn't stop there. She kept leading her team, consistently racking up assists, and turning heads every time she played. The Indiana Fever transformed from a struggling squad into a must-watch team, with some even saying Clark was putting the WNBA back on the map. She was making people pay attention to women's basketball in ways that hadn't been seen in years. What really sets Clark apart, though, isn't just her skills. It's the way she handled the whole situation. After her record-breaking triple-double, she didn't fire shots back at Carter. No gloating, no snarky social media posts. Instead, she took the high road and thanked her teammates for their support. That's not just good sportsmanship, it's pure class and leadership. Meanwhile, everyone was anticipating a comeback from Clark toward Carter. They expected some trash talk, a clever quip, or something to stir the pot. But nope, Clark was focused on business. Instead of diving into any drama, she took to the court and dominated once again. Just look at her game against the Dallas Wings, where she effortlessly scored 35 points and led the league in assists, like it was just another day at the office. Talk about letting her performance speak for itself. Clark's coach, Christy Sides, wasn't shy about her faith in Clark either. After watching her play, she confidently stated that Clark should be taking at least 15 shots per game. That's not just trust, that's building an entire game plan around a rookie. How many rookies get that kind of responsibility right off the bat? Not many. But while the drama between Carter and Clark was stealing headlines, Clark was busy doing what she does best, playing basketball and leading her team. After each significant game and every record she broke, Clark consistently credited her teammates. She didn't hog the spotlight, she shared it. That kind of humility from a rising star is truly rare. And it's not just about her leadership on the court. Clark has single-handedly changed the narrative around women's basketball. No one is asking what she can't do anymore. Instead, people are talking about how she's revolutionizing the game. She's drawing in new fans, inspiring young players, and bringing a fresh wave of The Indiana Fever just made a huge move that could shake things up for Caitlin Clark and her championship dreams. Kelly Krauskopf, the mastermind behind their 2012 title, is back as president. If you're a Fever fan or someone who's been following Caitlin Clark, this is the moment you've been waiting for. But the big question is, can Krauskopf build a winning team around Clark like she did with Tamika Catchings?
Background in terms of growing up in the organization and understanding everything, the nuances around it, and certainly gives us great perspective.
Krauskopf has a reputation for building championship teams, but the pressure's on now. The Fever are leading the league in attendance, with Clark drawing in record-breaking crowds. The big question is, can Krauskopf turn that energy into wins on the court? Will she make bold trades, shake up the coaching staff, or bring in fresh talent to help Clark chase her first championship ring? one thing's for sure, the Fever's future is about to get a lot more interesting, and fans won't want to miss a moment. Since Krauskopf was last in charge, the team's had better days, especially in the seasons leading up to 2024. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, and now the stakes are higher than ever. The challenge? Build a winning squad around the electrifying Caitlin Clark. Clark isn't just another rookie. She's been a sensation, lighting up the court and practically selling out arenas by herself. With an average of over 137,000 fans at home games, the Fever now lead the league in attendance. It's the hottest ticket in town. But now that Krauskopf is stepping back into the spotlight, all eyes are on her to do more than just ride this wave of popularity.
Recently, she was the Indiana Fever's president as well as GM for nearly 2 decades.
I think a lot of the opportunities that I've been given,
To turn all the excitement into real success on the court, fans are pumped, but they're also craving more than just hype. They want a championship. So, can Krauskopf build the powerhouse team Clark needs to bring that shiny trophy back to Indiana? No pressure, right? Kelly Krauskopf is back as the Indiana Fever's president, and this isn't just a nostalgic return. It's a massive opportunity for the team's future. With her solid track record of building winning squads, everyone's curious about her next move. Will she shake things up by changing the coaching staff, revamping the roster, or maybe a bit of both? Whatever she does in the coming weeks could either boost Indiana's championship chances, or, well, let's just say it might not be as exciting. Her first big challenge? Figuring out what to do about head coach Christy Sides. Sure, Sides got the team back to the playoffs, which is a win, but let's be real, the defense struggled, ranking near the bottom of the league. That's not exactly championship material. Plus, Sides has been leaning hard on her star players, keeping them on the court for long stretches. And some of her in-game decisions, whether it's arguing with refs, protecting players, or calling critical timeouts, have raised eyebrows. There's definitely room for improvement. Krauskopf's got a big decision to make. Stick with Sides and hope things improve, or bring in fresh blood to tighten things up. Either way, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. With Krauskopf's experience, she was the WNBA's first ever director of basketball operations. She's got a serious edge when it comes to team building. She's like the Sherlock Holmes of talent scouting, always finding the right pieces to complete the puzzle. The Fever's roster is already looking bright, with stars like Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell. But even a strong lineup needs a bit more firepower. The team could use a tough, gritty player who isn't afraid to bring some physical defense when things get tough. Krauskopf might have to dig into the free agent market or work some trade magic to find that missing piece. Someone who can bring a little edge and keep the competition in check. And let's be honest, Clark, as amazing as she is, needs a breather sometimes. Finding a solid backup for her is key to keeping the offense running smoothly. Without one, it's like driving a race car without a pit crew. Things could unravel fast.
Well, thanks, Gary. And after building the Indiana Fever into one of the WNBA's best franchises, Kelly Krauskopf last December made history by joining the Indiana Pacers as the NBA's first assistant female general manager.
Fortunately, Krauskopf's experience with the Indiana Pacers, where she helped build a playoff team, shows she knows how to make smart decisions. She's great at finding players who not only fill in gaps, but also fit seamlessly into the team's culture, like puzzle pieces falling perfectly into place. Now, with Clark's electrifying performance at the center of it all, it's up to Krauskopf to bring in the right supporting players. Everyone's watching to see if she'll pull off some big moves and add a few surprises to the roster.